Week 14 is in the books. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, good whatever. Wherever you are in the world, another edition, Pick Six. Pick Six, Unscripted 101, Beat Fact Music. Brought to you by The Pod Show by Beat Fact Music. So let's get into it. So I don't know where to start because this is an interesting week. But I'm going to start off with the Bills and the Rams because I think that game was very interesting. You saw a Rams team who, when healthy, I shouldn't say healthy, but when they have their receivers, Puka and Cooper Cup, they could do something. Stafford, we know what Stafford is about. He had Megatron, and we saw what he could do. He's got that big arm, and it was a shootout. Like I swear, like I was watching it on Red Zone and I was just like, what the hell is this? And it was just a back and forth. It's one of those games where defense didn't matter, but offense was just absolutely the cornerstone of this game. And it's just one of those NFL games where you're just like, yo, like this was one of those games where you're just like, yeah, this was a good one. Forget about the defense, negate the defensive comments. Like I could sit here and criticize the defense, but let's just be honest. This is the type of game that the NFL wants. They want this. This is what keeps people glued to the TV. And I mean, Stafford went for 320, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He was 23 for 30, which was ridiculous. And then, of course, Josh Allen had 342 yards, had 3 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. I mean, for the entertainment value of the game, that's what the NFL wants. Believe it or not, folks, like we could sit here and say whatever, but that's what the NFL wanted. Puka had 162 yards receiving. Shakir had 106. I mean, the intriguing thing about the Bills receivers is that you don't know who's going to have a good game. I mean, one game could be Ty Johnson. One game could be Mac Hollins, could be Amari Cooper, could be Shakir, it could even be Keon Coleman when he's there. So you don't know who could be the guy at some, which makes the Bills offense very unique. And I mean, of course, Joe Brady doing a fantastic job there and Sean McVay doing what he can with what he has. But yeah, it was one of those classic games. And I'm telling you, like, the Rams, are they a playoff team this year? No. But are they going to screw some people over? Yes, they will. They're definitely going to screw some people over. And Stafford, people are talking about Stafford is done. No, he's not done. Stafford knows what he's doing. He's been in the league long enough to know how to keep himself ready to go. I mean, he's had injuries here and there the last few years, but he's fine. And Josh Allen, I mean, he's putting in his case for the MVP. And right now, is he the leader in the MVP? I don't know. I still got Saquon slightly ahead of him. But again, these things are what it is. But let me go to another game because I have something I want to say about this one. The next game I'm going to go to is the Lions and Packers. And that was another back and forth game, which had the Lions go 12-1, pretty much clinching the division and doing what they do, of course, and Packers going to 9-4. It was one of those games, man. I don't know. It's just the Lions were kind of a little lumpy in the beginning, and then they just came back and did what they had to do to pull the game off. And one of the things about the Lions is that with the injuries that they have, they still find a way, and that's how sports is. Because there's no such thing as a full healthy squad at the end of the year in any sport. There's no such thing. We got to stop this. Oh, because they lost because they're missing A, B, C, D, E. No, sometimes you're going to miss B. Sometimes you're going to miss A. Sometimes you're going to miss C. Sometimes you might miss A. You still got to play the games and win. So they found a way. Jordan Love, 206, 1 touchdown. I'm still not convinced about him at all. I don't know why. But, they scored 31 points. Jared Goff, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 283. Montgomery and Gibbs, pedestrian-like combined 94 yards in this game. Josh Jacobs had 3 touchdowns. He went crazy, but he only had 66 yards. But he made it count when it needed to be. So Christian Watson went 114 with 4 receptions. He's going to be something good. We'll see how that goes. But it was just one of those games that I felt like the Lions had. I knew it's a division game. Again, a division game. And I'm going to keep reiterating this because I know a lot of people, some people are tone deaf when it comes to this. And I'm going to say this again. Division games are always going to be grindy. You play the team twice a year. Some of these rivalries go back 50, 60 years. It doesn't matter who the team is. Who's on the team. These games are going to be tight. You saw it with Cincinnati, Baltimore, Minnesota, Chicago. You saw it with the game I'm talking about as we speak. Cleveland and Pittsburgh, which I'm going to get to next. These games are always going to be like this. So expecting a blowout in division games is going to be very, very rare, folks. So we need to calm down on this. Division games are always going to be like this, and they're great when they're like this too, because it's just one of those things. It's like rivalries in sports, especially in football, are legit. Doesn't matter who the team is, who's on the squad, who's the coach. Don't matter. So this game is interesting. But let me get to my next point. Why is it that the Packers, in most people's rankings, is still in the top 5, top 10? I don't think the Packers are a top 10 team right now. I just don't think they are. But yet you see these rankings from all these ESPN and Fox writers and shows and all this have the Packers either in the top 5 or top 10. How is that possible? They're 9-4. They're not as great as everybody say they are. But you got other teams who are 10-2 are barely in their top 10. But anyways, I'll get to that. I'll elaborate more when I talk about that game and that particular team. But the Lions 34-31. That's a good win. Division win. You got to take it. Next game I'm going to go to is Steelers and Browns, another division game. Jameis Winston, I'm telling you, like, if Jameis Winston could protect the ball, which is something he's never going to do now because he's just not that guy. He's been in the league too long to clean these dirty habits. And I've talked about habits, really, really stinky habits that are just not cleanable. He threw 2 picks. Now, the Steelers won 27-14. Russell only had 158 for 2 touchdowns. Jameis was throwing. He threw 41 times. Jameis cannot get himself out of that interception funk. I don't know what it is, but if he doesn't throw those 2 picks, this game is closer. It's more exciting than it would be with the score and without the picks. But it's just Cleveland's issue is they have one quarterback who didn't do anything, Deshaun Watson. But you have another quarterback who can make those throws, but he always makes there's always those interceptions. This is a guy that went 30 for 30 in Tampa. So, but he threw like 5,000 yards, which is very, 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 very rare for quarterbacks to get 5,000 yards and throw 30 picks like that. But he did. So, but at the end of the day, it's just what it is. And I'm telling you, Cleveland, they got to figure it out at quarterback. They have players. They got Jerry Jeudy. They got David Njoku. They got Elijah Moore. They got players. Like, Cleveland has players, and they have defense too. Like, that defense is not going to be able to save them if he throws 2 picks. So it's just one of those games. It's just like another grindy division game. Pittsburgh wins 27-14. So I don't know, but Cleveland, it seems to always bite them in the butt, whether it's turnovers or just they don't play well, but it is what it is. The next game I'm going to go to, and it's what I was referring to with the Packers-Lions games, Vikings and Falcons. Kirk Cousins returns home. Now, is it a little personal for me as a fan? Absolutely. um, Kirk Cousins, he got paid. Shout out to his agent. He's a nice guy. He's not one of those jerks. He doesn't come in looking like a clown sometimes to games. I'm sorry, but some of the fashion, just my opinion, some of the fashion just to walk into a game to get attention, it's pretty like, Kirk Cousins comes in, ready to go, ready to play. He is what he is. And, unfortunately, like I said, he's not a I just don't see him as that quarterback to get you to the next level. He'll get you there, but then you need somebody else to open that door. And, Sam Darnold, is he that guy? I don't know. I'm still not convinced with him either. But under Kevin O'Connell, I talked about Kevin O'Connell and the way he is a master motivator. He's got Sam Darnold playing the best football of his career. And I'll tell you this, and people have been talking about his free agency and all that, but I'll get to that in a second. But let me just get down to some of these numbers, man. I mean, Bijan Robinson with his 92 yards and 1 touchdown, he could be better, man. But I mean, he had 22 carries for that, but whatever. Aaron Jones going to be Aaron Jones. He's going to give you a couple of big chunks, and then he's going to have a couple of stinkers with the ball. But otherwise, he did what he had to do. But I think the two things that really catch me is Addison and, oh man, Addison and Jefferson. I mean, one had 133 and the other had 132, 5 touchdowns combined. If this becomes a norm between now and potentially February, that's all I'm going to say. I'll leave it at that because it's become a norm for those two. So I don't know. I just see something kind of just feels different about this one, but I'll get to that. But Sam Darnold, I mean, you got to look at it. Kevin O'Connell has done something with him. And he seems to have a lot of quarterbacks' attention around the league and a lot of people's attention around the league in terms of his way of motivating and showing respect for players. Kirk Cousins knows he left a very good situation, but they didn't want him. The whole story is they were going to give him 2 years. He wanted 3. What? That doesn't matter. He threw 344 for 2 picks. He's always going to throw a lot of yards. He has that arm, but he's just not that quarterback. And the Penix conversations come into play, and that's Atlanta's problem. They're going to have to figure that out. They have players. Atlanta has players, so that's just the way it is in football sometimes. Sometimes it's just you want security, and he left because of security, and. So the final score here is 42-21. But I'll get back to what I said with the Green Bay Detroit thing. How is it that I'm looking at a lot of these rankings across the boards, and you guys most of you have Green Bay ahead of Minnesota? And last I checked, Minnesota beat Green Bay at Green Bay. So I don't know how it's possible. This is why, and I'm going to just take a second to reiterate this to a lot of you podcast listeners that listen to these 1 hour shows, 1.5 hour podcasts, whatever. Do your own homework when it comes to stats and numbers and all that. Don't listen to these guys. Don't base your opinions on it, because there's a lot of people like that. Getting into this AI mentality. Because to me, listening to these other guys out there with their rankings on teams, it's like AI. It's like you're actually listening to this artificial intelligence tell you what teams are good and what teams are bad. We are going to find out who the best team is in the NFL in February. That's all you need to know. You will never see me on this podcast do a top 5. Why? NFL is a week-to-week situation. I'm not going to do that. You guys are going to get my pick 6, and that's it. All this best team in the league, it's foolishness because you don't know who it is. Right now, KC's doing what they have to do. And if KC goes into February and wins the Super Bowl, then they win the Super Bowl. They're the best team in the league. I'm not doing no top 5 teams. Nobody cares who finishes 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Nobody cares. I don't. Do you? So we got to relax with that and really get serious about what's going on. The next game I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to talk about it because this guy has gotten my attention and I've been cheering for this guy. And I'm going to continue cheering for him because people had him under the rug. They had him thrown in the trash. And I just, the media is just pathetic, but that's a whole different conversation. Panthers and Eagles. It's closer than you think it is, 22-16. Jalen Hurts, I don't know if you guys have noticed, hasn't thrown a lot lately. His throwing production has been declining at a all-time rate. And a lot of people believe he's not really a throwing quarterback. But what's even more intriguing, and I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, A.J. Brown is not happy. He's not happy at all. He only had 42 yards receiving. Right? They are going to this more ground attack game, which has pissed him off. Saquon Barkley is on this all-time revenge tour since the Giants decided to resign Daniel and let him basically walk out the door. It's, man. I mean, Jalen Hurts had 2 touchdowns, had 1 rushing touchdown, only threw the ball 21 times. A.J. Brown had 42 yards receiving, and he's not happy. He's like, if this is what the future holds for me, I think I might have to find a door and exit. There are rumors going on about that. I just believe that Jalen Hurts doesn't have that arm. He's not a big arm guy. So when you ask him to throw 30 to 40 times a game, you might walk into some big problems. So if this is the conventional way that the Philadelphia Eagles got to win football games, folks, then that's what it is. Accept it and move on. Now, yes, the Eagles won. The A.J. Brown situation, keep your eyes on that. But I think the biggest takeaway here is Bryce Young. And to me, I'm about development. Development is so key right now in sports because a lot of guys, they walk into the door with talent. They think they're nice. They think they're great. The Instagram pages are starting to light up. They do whatever foolishness. A lot of them do. And then it just goes right down the toilet. This kid has maintained a lot of poise. Bryce Young has maintained so much poise. He's played better and better. You got to look at this. He played against the Chiefs, went right down to the wire. He played against the Eagles. It went right down to the wire. These are 2 teams that have been in the Super Bowl within the last 48 months. One of them has won 2 Super Bowls. And this kid went toe-to-toe with them. And you're telling me he's not progressing? You're telling me he's not sitting in that war room working his ASS off? I think he is, guys. Keep an eye out for Bryce, man. Young Bryce is coming, man. He's coming, and I'm happy to see that. We ain't here to criticize. We're here to uplift, and sports is hard, man. It's hard. It is so hard, and it's one of those things where you're just like, you know what? It's just great to see the kids playing. So my last game of the day that I'm going to focus on, I'm going to go to the Dolphins and Jets. And why I say that is because the Jets, they can't buy wins. They can't even trade for wins. And the thing is about the Jets is, again, Tua Tagovailoa, since coming back, he has played so much better. Is he a franchise quarterback in my eyes? I don't think so. That's just my opinion. But is he a good quarterback? Absolutely. 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 You could be a good quarterback and not a franchise quarterback. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback, but he's not a franchise quarterback. Tua goes for 331, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He wasn't touched once. They didn't sack him once in that game. They didn't sack him once. Aaron Rodgers finally had 300 yards. He had to throw 39 times. Tua threw 47 times. So this game was just a shootout. It was great. Like, I mean, it was just one of those games, like, again, division game again. Division games. They're always going to be like this. Garrett Wilson goes for 114. Devontae, 109. Tyreek Hill, 115. Jalen Waddle, 99 yards. You know, like, it was just one of those games, man. Like, the Jets are going to have to make some serious decisions, man. Like, I don't know where they're going with this at all with Aaron Rodgers. They owe him some coin, but you know what, folks? This is the new NFL, and if you got 3 years left on your contract, these guys are still going to release you. So it really don't matter at all. Things have changed so much in sports. The potential has swung when it comes to free agency and all that. So, you know, but yeah, another division battle. Dolphins 32, Jets 26. And that concludes another edition of the Pick Six podcast, folks. For those that have been listening from day one, thank you very much. For those that have any questions or concerns, you know, hey, man, make your comments. Yeah, this is what it is, man. And I'm going to continue to do this. And just a quick note before I sign off here. You know, a lot of people out there are trying to do something right now with themselves. You see it, you hear it all the time on social media, on the streets. People are trying to do something and they're kind of looking left, right, front, back. You know, it's kind of like, oh, they're worried. If you're worried, then you shouldn't be doing it. A challenge is a challenge. It doesn't change. Challenges will always be challenges. If you're ready for the challenge, you're ready for the ups and downs, you're ready for what's going to come ahead of you, what's going to come behind you, then go ahead and go ahead and take that risk. It's right there for the taking. If you're worried about people, support, why? 99% of people don't support your stuff because you're working, you're putting in effort. Effort eliminates the unnecessary. So on that note, folks, that's another edition. Pick Six. Have yourselves a good one wherever you are in the world, whatever time zone you represent. Peace.